So we're not going to talk about all that cosmic stuff, but we understand that it is there. There's more to this because that's how there has to be more to this because it didn't just go from everything to this human existence from our point of view. There was a stepping down, and all of that has its own storyline is going on at the same time and those influences, but we're just focusing down on us and that and understanding that there's a whole series that went on in between it that we're not addressing here. We shall confine our attention entirely to man and to his psychological reactions to the qualified forms in 3 directions. To those in the subhuman kingdoms in nature, to those with whom he associates in the human family, and to the guiding hierarchy in the world of souls. The 7 ray types must be dealt with entirely from the human angle, for this treatise is intended to give the new psychological approach to man through an understanding of the energies, 7 in number, with their 49 differentiations, which animate him and make him what he is. Later, as we take up each ray type, we shall subject man to a close analysis and study his reactions in these 3 directions. These 7 rays are the 7 streams of force issuing from a central energy after, in point of time, that vortex of energy had been set up. Spirit and matter became mutually interactive, and the form or appearance of the solar system began its process of becoming, a process leading to an eventual being. So the same thing as we in our incarnation go through our sleep state until we go to our state of becoming, until we go through our state of being, so too did the solar system begin a process of becoming itself, and then that led to a process of an eventual being of itself, its expressions. This idea is ancient and true. We find reference to the 7 eons and the 7 emanations and to life and nature of the 7 spirits which are before the throne of God in the writings of Plato, and of all initiates who laid down in ancient times the basic propositions which have guided the human mentality down the ages. These great lives, functioning within the boundaries of the solar system, gathered to themselves that substance which they required for manifestation and built it into those forms and appearances through which they could best express their innate qualities. I'm getting so distracted because my stomach's growling like crazy, but it has to learn its place, right? This is more important. I'm going to finish this. I have a couple pages left, and then you're going to get your food, okay? Because I'm not just a human. I'm a God being who doesn't need tangible food in order to function. I can still function, although you're screaming at me, hey, I need to be densed and weighed down with chemicals and products so that I can not irritate you. But I know that your consciousness and your psyche needs to be clear like it is right now so that you can flow from the crown and articulate these messages and try to make it understandable for others who are seeking like yourself, or for you to watch later and make a better understanding for yourself when you're not channeling. So again, if you can hear my stomach growling, I'm sorry, but I'm going to let it keep doing that because it's important that I do this from this fasted state so that I can channel more clearly instead of being like weighed down with a burger or whatever. Okay, so forgive me. I'm going to try to focus, even though it's really distracting. All right, so continuing on. So Plato talked about this. These great lives, functioning within the boundaries of the solar system, gathered to themselves that substance which they required for manifestation and built it into those forms and appearances through which they could best express their innate qualities. Within the radius of their influence, they gathered all that now appears. This aggregated qualified material constitutes their body of manifestation, just as the solar system is the body of manifestation of the trinity of aspects. This idea can best be apprehended if one remembers that every human being is, in his turn, an aggregate of atoms and cells built into form, and having scattered throughout that form organs and centers of differentiated life, which function in rhythm and relation, but which have varying influences and differing purposes, as above so below. These aggregated and animated forms present an appearance of an entity or central life which is characterized by its own quality and which functions according to the point in evolution, thus making an impress by its radiation and life upon every atom and cell and organism within the radius of immediate influence, and also upon every other human being contacted. What? Okay, I have to read this again. Let me get... that was amazing. But I don't think it flowed. Okay, let's read that paragraph over. This idea can best be apprehended if one remembers that every human being is, in his turn, an aggregate of atoms and cells built into form, and having scattered throughout that form organs and centers of differentiated life, which function in rhythm and relation, but which have varying influences and differing purposes. These aggregated and animated forms present an appearance of an entity or central life which is characterized by its own quality and which functions according to the point in evolution, thus making an impress by its radiation and life upon every atom and cell and organism within the radius of immediate influence, and also upon every other human being contacted. Man is a psychic entity, a life, who through radiatory influence has built a form, colored it with his own psychic quality, and thus presented an appearance to the environing world which will persist for as long a time as he lives in form. That's magnificent. I was talking about how in the same ways that the planetary bodies that embody certain ray influences, because it went from that state of becoming aware of itself as a planetary body, which is meant to embody one of the stepped down aspects of divinity, a ray, and then be that, embody that so that it can beam out to everything that is influenced by its radius. So a planet spits out energy that is absorbed by your birth chart with different proclivities that each of us have, like the Pluto and Scorpio generation have an influence of Plutonic energy and Saturn energy and different things. And then you soak that up because you're in the radius of it to kind of take in that energy, like we take in the energy of the sun. We see that it's possible. It's not improbable. The plants take in the energy of the sun and grow. Influence is seen, right? We too are doing that, but then it steps it down to make it even more tangible to where each human being, which is an aggregate of different cells and organs and stuff, each having its own purpose and influence, doing its thing, which then presents itself in an appearance of a form, or a human being, which says, hello, I'm Sabri, and articulates and specializes its own quality, form, colored with my own psychic quality, and presented to the environing world, and it will persist as long as I live in this form. So as long as I live in this form, I will express and influence those around me in my radius in the way that I have set forth based on the embodied rays that I have stepped down and am meant to express. If I live as this conscious being, it is set up that way automatically. Okay? Continuing on, this statement covers also the life story and the qualified appearance of any one of the seven rays. God, ray, life, and man are all psychological entities and builders of forms. Therefore, a great psychological life is appearing through the medium of a solar system. 7 psychological lives, qualified by 7 types of force, are appearing through the medium of the 7 planets. Each planetary life repeats the same technique of manifestation life, quality, appearance, and in its second aspect of quality, demonstrates as a psychological entity. Every human being is a miniature replica of the entire plan, as above, so below. What's going on with us is going on with the planets and went on in the whole thing. He is also spirit, soul, body, life, quality, appearance. He colors his appearance with his quality and animates it with his life. Because all appearances are expressions of quality, and the lesser is included in the greater, every form in nature and every human being is found upon one or other of the 7 qualifying rays, and his appearance in a phenomenal form is colored by the quality of his basic ray. It is qualified predominantly by the ray of the particular life upon whose emanation he issued forth, but it will include also, in a secondary measure, the 6 other ray types. And that's possible because we are still at one at the end of the day. So while we look at the 7 rays and we study them and we find out what each of us are influenced by as our predominant soul expression of the planetary logos embodied in a planet, okay, I'm highly second ray or whatever it may be, I'm also going to be colored by the other rays as well. So that's why when you're looking through and you're studying which ray am I, you are going to pick up nuances from each of the different rays. And as you are more developed and more along the path, you'll realize that the monad, the career of the monad, is the embodiment of all things. So you will work to embody all elements, just like in astrology. You would do better to study your whole birth chart so that you know that you're not just your sun sign. In fact, who the world sees you as is going to be your rising sign, and who you actually end up as in a relationship is going to be your moon sign, and all these other different factors, and who you're meant to be in your destiny is your north node. And so you really want to embody a full encompassing, all-encompassing version of yourself, not just these aspects which we've stepped down, but we start with a blueprint and the raw materials to get better understanding and unlock those gifts. Let us therefore posit as a symbolical analogy the fact of a central life, extraneous and outside our solar system, yet within it during the process of manifestation, which decides within itself to take a material form and to incarnate. I lose my voice. A vortex of force is set up as a preliminary step, and we then have God immanent and God transcendent at the same time. The whole which divided itself into the many, and is still the whole. So it's immanent and transcendent at the same time. This is how we can be the experiencer and the observer at the same time. I can be talking right now, and I can be listening at the same time to what Spirit is telling me to say. And I can be observing what she is saying and saying, okay, is that correct or not, or whatever, is she going to like this? And then as my human self, I can be thinking and listening to myself and listening to my stomach growl and distracted. There's so much going on in a single moment, which correlates with how we use just 10% of our brains, which we were told, but there's really so much more going on. But the 10% that we use is more literally what we're aware of. And as we unlock our consciousness and you become at one, you can be more aware of the different things that are all going on at the same exact time, and then assert power over them or direct your forces over them to be quantum, which we learn about quantum intelligence, which is like where we again overlap the scientific with the non-physical, which is where science kind of drips into this when you learn about quantum physics and quantum mechanics and all of those things, because we're getting there to integration. But it's a process of becoming and then being. A vortex of force is set up as a preliminary step, and we then have God immanent and God transcendent at the same time. This vortex, as a result of this initial activity, demonstrates through the medium of what we call substance, or to use a technical term of modern science, which is the best we can do at this time, through the ether of space. The consequence of this, and we're almost done, the consequence of this active interplay of life and substance is that a basic unity is constituted. Father and mother are at one. From twain, he built one new man. Okay? This unity is characterized by quality, the sun, or the sun appearance. Let's go back. Let's check ourselves before we wreck ourselves. Quality is the sun, yes, that emerges from the unity of life and appearance. Life and appearance, father and mother, and quality comes forth. Through this triplicity of life, quality, form, the central life evokes and manifests consciousness or awareness of response to all that is eventuating, but in a degree which it is impossible for us to cognize, limited as we are by our present relativity and undeveloped point in evolution. Students of this treatise must bear in mind from the very start of their studies the necessity for familiarizing themselves with these four conditioning factors, life, quality, appearance, and their result or synthesis, which we call consciousness. Always, therefore, we predicate that which stands outside of the appearance and which is conscious of that appearance. The observer and experiencer we were talking about. This involves awareness of its material development and consequent adequacy of expression, and also awareness of its psychic unfoldment. No study of the rays is possible apart from this fourfold recognition. Our grasp of the subject will be much facilitated if we train ourselves to regard ourselves as an accurate, though as yet undeveloped, we are still an accurate expression and reflection of this initial creative quaternary. We are the mother, we are the father, we are the son, and we are the consciousness that is expressed as a combined soul entity embodying all of it, okay, in form. We are lives making an appearance, expressing quality, and slowly becoming aware of the process and the objective as our consciousness becomes more like that of divinity itself. Yay! Isn't that option? Isn't that awesome? Okay, let's read it one more time. We are lives making an appearance, expressing quality, and slowly becoming aware of the process and the objective as our consciousness becomes more like that of divinity itself. Yay! So that's the end of part 2. We're going to finish it up with part 3, which is the 7 rays enumerated, where it breaks down the 7 rays, the planetary influences that actually lord each ray, lord each planet, which lord means lowered itself down to express divinity, and then it expresses itself, and then we'll get to it. And then chapter 2, which is really dope because it goes over what is the soul and its nature, the origin, goal, and purpose and plan of the soul, and all kinds of cool stuff like that. So I'm going to end this right here. It's just under an hour. Probably have broken this up into 2 30-minute videos, since at this time human beings have limited attention spans and probably only get through 9 minutes at most, 2 minutes at a regular before they're like, squirrel. But not you, because you're on the path. All right, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.